G'day! In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Galaxy Z Flip 3, more accurately, flip phones in general. So this particular one I've owned now for about 2 to 3 weeks now, after my S21 got liquid damaged again while camping, and from there I had this in stock. I bought it for around 400 Australian dollars, and these are my thoughts of that phone since owning it. Granted, I am doing it with the mindset that I paid $400 for this. I think the original asking price for the Z Flip 3 was closer to $1,200 to $1,600 Australian. It's a 1-year-old phone, but it shares quite a few similarities to the Flip 4, which usually changes the SoC and the battery. So the things I've noticed with this since I've got it is my tendency of actually pulling my phone out of my pocket and checking it is greatly reduced. So for example, standing in line with the post office, got a few things under my arm, and normally I'd pull out my phone, look at Reddit, look at Facebook, look at YouTube comments, reply to a few messages and put it back away. But since I've got to actively pull it out of my pocket and then flip it to actually do anything, I've found that I'm quite a few times I'm just going to happily stand there, look around the building. I find that simply getting in there, but also another thing that adds on to that is the simple fact is opening this one-handed is a massive challenge. I've got a case on here. Even without the case, there's no real simple way to open this one-handed. The case does give me a bit of a groove here to put my finger into to flick it open, but without that, there is very little to actually grip to flip it open. Problem number 2 that I've got with it is the power button. I typically hold a phone in the lower half, so now I've got to actively do a finger shuffle to get to the power button to open it up or to wake it. Granted, there may be a setting to wake screen on open and unlock, but I find that myself, usually I tip it open and then unlock, hit the power button from there. So I found that it's now become a 2-step process to get in there. The other thing, sometimes opening it one-handed, screen's off, double tap the screen to wake it up. So I find that getting into it isn't as convenient as just simply pulling out a phone, hitting the power button and then looking at it. Another thing that I found with it that's meant to save time is the cover screen on here, which I found that the cover screen itself, usually I got to do a double tap to wake it up, but then a few times I struggle to actually get in there. About the only useful case I've had for this is music. Earlier today, gone for a walk, pull out my phone, tap the screen once, and then cycle through my songs from there. Apart from that, the external screen on here has almost been next to useless for me. Granted, that may be because of the power settings that I've got. Always on display is not always set to on. Granted, during the day it should be, but I find that the amount of information I can get from there is quite limited. So having the excuse of there's an external display is not overly that useful to me. Another complaint that I've got with it is when you open it up, since it's got a thin trim around the inside or outside of the screen, it likes to collect dust. It has a slight gap through the middle here, and that, you put it in your pocket, every time I've taken it out of my pocket, the screen usually needs a clean, or I've just settled for it looking dirty. So overall I found that the simple use of getting into there has slowed me down, but then when I'm looking at the screen, it seems to be dirtier than if I just had a standard candy bar phone. What are the positives of it? So now that I've covered most of my flaws, one more including is battery life. It tends to drain battery where I'm usually charging it once a day or the next day. Every 24 hours, I'm basically needing to charge it, even if I'm not really actively using it. If I do choose to use it for something like watch a YouTube video for 20 minutes, then I almost definitely need to charge it that day. So a very small battery. Granted, in the Z Flip 4, it's got a more efficient SoC and a slightly larger battery by, I think, about 10-15%. So you do have that slight advantage. Talking about advantages, sitting it on a table, I don't have to worry about propping it up on anything. I settle for the screen on YouTube to be slightly smaller, and because of that, with the smaller screen, I don't have to actually crank my head over the phone or find something to prop it up on. So that is one neat little advantage. So for example, if I'm watching a video, I go full screen, I kink it slightly, and the video plays in the top half, and from here I could click on comments and scroll through comments while the video continues to play. So I do find that one efficient use of the slight folding advantage this particular model has. But overall, I'd much rather just a simple candy bar phone. Granted, you do have essentially a wearing out part. That crease over time is eventually going to wear, it's going to lift, it's going to deteriorate. So not only are you paying for a more expensive phone compared to a standard candy bar phone, it's also going to wear out quicker. So also because I'm charging it every second day, the battery's going to wear out quicker because I'm charging it more frequently compared to a standard candy bar phone with a much higher milliamp hour battery in there. But also because I'm physically opening it and closing it so many times, that screen's going to eventually fail. Or at least the screen protector's going to lift and it's not going to look great. The other dilemma is, since we've got a hinge, I found the amount of dust and fluff that has been getting caught in the sides to be quite alarming. If I have anything like let's say for example, a piece of paper in my pocket that's gone through the wash by accident, I clear out my pocket and I think I'm good, this phone finds out I am not good. It tends to get little bits of paper sticking out just the sides on the hinges. I've been able to pluck it out each time that it's happened, but it has happened more frequently than I would expect. So I am curious to see in the long term how well this hinge is going to handle just dust, dirt, paper, fluff, whatever getting caught in that hinge. So currently, as cool as they seem to be, I'm not really seeing too much of a positive, or the positives are getting outweighed by the negatives. So for myself, if I'd spent 1,200 Australian dollars on this compared to a Galaxy S22 of a very similar form factor, I would be fairly disappointed in the Flip. Even at $400, I had a choice between using the Z Flip 3 and the Samsung Galaxy A13 when my phone died. Of course, I was going to pick the more expensive phone with the better SoC and the better display, but at the same time, it's really, I don't know, I reckon the A13 would have almost done what I wanted it to do, but granted, going from an S21 to an A13 would have been a major step back in performance, so I ended up going with the Z Flip 4, just because it was mainly cheap for me at the time. But I definitely wouldn't go out of my way to purchase one. Anyway, that will do for today, and I'll see you later. Bye.